Around a month ago, I started a new series on my channel where I go over the timelines of certain DC characters in the Arrowverse. So far, I've done videos for Batman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Reverse Flash. And in this 6th timeline video, I'm going to be looking at the Arrowverse timeline of Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, considering Slade had a very large role in 2 seasons of Arrow, and then also a minor role in 3 others. And also, his presence has always been felt throughout every single season. He definitely has a very detailed, extensive timeline. In this video, I'll go from the birth of Slade Wilson to the year 2019, the current year, and go over his entire timeline. So let's begin with the birth of Slade Wilson. Slade has been confirmed to have been born in the year 1968, which would mean now in current year he'd be 50 or 51 years old. Anyway, very early on, he joined the Australian intelligence ASIS, and we know this happened before the year 1990, so he joins in the year 1986, which is when he's 18 years old, so that does make sense, and that's also when he meets Billy Wintergreen, who becomes his partner and best friend. And then in the year 1989, Slade meets Lian Yu, or he meets her earlier, but they get married in the year 1989, and in the year 1990, Joe Wilson is born. Now, the reason this is all being put here is definitely explained. Joe Wilson has not been confirmed to be born in the year 1990, but the actor was born in the year 1990, so I'm going off of that, which, I mean, the actor for Slade Wilson was born in the year 1969, the year after he was supposedly born in the Arrowverse, so I think that does make sense. But we also know that Slade joined the ASIS and met Billy Wintergreen before Joe was born, so it had to be before the year 1990, and I thought when he was 18, that made sense. So in the Arrowverse, it doesn't seem like Slade has a daughter. Rose Wilson does not exist, and she was effectively replaced by Isabella Rochev during Arrow Season 2 as a Ravager. But another child of Slade that does exist is Grant Wilson, who, for the sake of this timeline, was born in the year 1992, even though it was implied that he was born like around the year 2004, maybe, around the year Slade Wilson was tasked with saving Yao Fei. But if he was born in the year 2004, that means in Arrow Season 8, he'd be like 15 years old, which if you look at him, there's absolutely no way he's 15. He looks a lot older than that. I would believe that the character we saw in Star City 2046 during Legends of Tomorrow, that he was born in 2004, because then he'd be 42 years old, which he does look a little young for that, but it is still possible, especially with the Mirakuru, if he has that. But there's no way that Grant Wilson is 15 in 2019 in Arrow Season 8, so I don't know if this is I'm counting as a retcon, but because of Arrow Season 8, I made it so that Grant Wilson is significantly older than Arrow Season 6 portrayed him as. So in 1992, Grant Wilson is born, but he's kept secret from Slade by Lian Yu, because Lian around that time learned about Slade's operations in the ASIS, and she wanted to keep Grant away from Slade's whole lifestyle of murder. 2004 is the year it all begins for Slade, where in this year, sometime during it, Slade Wilson is tasked with interrogating a secret agent named Sen Ming to discover Yao Fei Gulong's location. Slade brings Joe along on this interrogation as a camp trip. He uses the camp trip as a guise to actually interrogate Sen Ming. Sen tells Slade that Yao Fei is in purgatory, and Slade kills him, which Joe actually sees, which leads Joe down a path of becoming exactly like his father, and also joining the ASIS. Then in the year 2006, Slade and his partner Billy Wintergreen are tasked with rescuing Yao Fei, so they go to Lian. While they're about to arrive on Lian Yu, their plane is shot out of the sky, and they crash land on the island. Slade and Billy are captured by Edward Fires, and are both given the offer of joining Fires' cause, which Billy takes him up on, but Slade declines. Slade is then kept as a prisoner by Fires for almost a year, and then in the year 2007, Slade manages to escape with Yao Fei, and they find shelter in Slade's plane. Slade and Yao Fei come up with some sort of plan to escape Lian Yu by stealing a supply plane, but for some reason, it's not really explained, they never mention this, but Slade and Yao Fei do get separated. In 2007, Oliver Queen does get shipwrecked on Lian Yu. Yao Fei finds him, trains him, and then after all this, Slade actually meets Oliver in the year 2008. So Oliver was actually sent to the plane by Yao Fei, and he meets Slade. Slade tries to train him, but to not much success. Oliver does get some experience, but not nearly as much as he would eventually get from other trainers. Anyway, they try to execute Yao Fei and Slade's plan. They go to Edward Fires' camp. Oliver and Slade get into the communications tower and try to get the supply ship, and they successfully are able to do so. But as Slade tells Oliver that he will order a drone strike on Fires' camp, Oliver decides to go save Yao Fei first. Then Slade saves Oliver from Wintergreen, and during this they have this fight, which Slade ends up killing his former best friend, and also the godfather to his son, Joe, and Billy Wintergreen dies. They manage to escape and then come back a couple weeks later as they raid the camp yet again, but this time Fires uses Shadow as leverage against Yao Fei, Shadow being the daughter of Yao Fei. Now Slade, Oliver, and Shadow manage to escape without Yao Fei, but then in the next year and a half or season and a half that these three characters spent together, Slade falls in love with Shadow, but Shadow and Oliver are the people who get together. Then, still in the year 2008, Yao Fei helps Fires find and capture Oliver, Shadow, and Slade, under the promise that Fires would let Shadow go. Then Fires uses Yao Fei and frames him for destroying a Chinese plane, because the Chinese were the ones who actually sent Yao Fei to Lian Yu as a prison, even though he was not the person who committed any crime. He was just the scapegoat. But anyway, he sets up a video where Yao Fei is talking about destroying a Chinese plane to destabilize the Chinese government, which Fires was ordered by Amanda Waller to do. As it turns out, as it's revealed in Arrow Season 3, Amanda Waller actually hired Edward Fires to destroy the plane, not to destabilize the Chinese economy, but to kill China White, even though it would also kill the rest of the people on that plane. Then Fires does kill Yao Fei, and Oliver, Slade, and Shadow manage to tear down Edward Fires' operation, stop the missile from destroying the plane that China White was on, and in the end, Oliver kills Fires. So now Oliver, Shadow, and Slade are all stuck on Lian Yu. That is until Oliver and Slade find out that there is now a freighter that came to Lian Yu. Shadow is then captured by Anthony Ivo, and both Oliver and Slade go after her. The plane was actually blown up, and because of this, Slade is hit by the explosion, which he survives but is severely injured in half of his face and also on his hand. After months of Slade succumbing to his wounds, Oliver, Shadow, and also Sarah, who joined along, are cornered with Slade and are forced to use the Mirakuru, which is the miracle drug that Anthony Ivo is after, the drug that was created by the Japanese during World War II to create super soldiers, and Slade is infected by the Mirakuru, or injected by it is what I meant to say. Anyway, the Mirakuru does heal Slade completely, but it also affects his mind, but it also enhances him, makes him a super soldier like the Japanese intended from World War II. But during this, while he's recovering, Anthony Ivo kills Shadow after giving Oliver a choice between Shadow and Sarah. Oliver inadvertently chooses Shadow, but it wasn't really his choice. The Mirakuru does completely cure Slade. He wakes up, he kills all of Ivo's men with ease, and finds the woman he loved dead. He then promises to make the person who did this pay, and then we move to 2009. So 2009 is the big year where Slade began his vendetta and hatred for Oliver Queen, as Oliver, Slade, and Sarah raid Ivo's ship, the Amazo, and during the attack, Slade learns the choice that Ivo gave Oliver. With the Mirakuru affecting his brain, Slade begins to completely blame Oliver specifically for the death of Shadow. Slade takes over the Amazo and tortures Oliver, promising to make him suffer the way that Slade thinks Oliver made him suffer. Oliver escapes, and then in a final battle with Slade where the Amazo is being blown up, the debris from the Amazo pins Slade down to the ground. Now with the choice of either killing Slade or curing him, because they did find a cure, Oliver chooses to stab Slade in the eye in an attempt to kill him, but because of the Mirakuru, this arrow piercing his eye did not kill him, but all it did really was completely get rid of his eye, and because of this, for some reason, his eye never grew back. In this year as well, after the final fight on the Amazo, both Oliver and Slade believe that the other is dead, and they move on with their lives. Slade swims back to some sort of shore. He swims away from Lian Yu. Obviously, a regular person would not be able to do this because the tides would just tear you apart, making you hit the ground and the rocks and debris. But since he is affected by the Mirakuru, while he was cut down to the bone, the Mirakuru grew everything back except for his eye. Slade then returned to Australia and rejoined the ASIS, as it seemed like the Mirakuru faded away because he thinks that Oliver died. During this year, he also tries to reconnect with his son Joe, who also joined the ASIS. Over the course of the years 2009 to 2012, Slade is completely rid of the Mirakuru, believing that Oliver Queen had died, and he remains as a member of the ASIS. That is until the year 2012, where he sees a news report that Oliver Queen is back. The Mirakuru comes roaring back as he sees this news story. He steals an ASIS suit that would later become known as the Deathstroke suit, and becomes a mercenary, beginning his plan. He begins killing people for money, becoming really rich, as nobody was able to stop him from killing people, and this is something that I'm adding to the timeline, which I mentioned in my Batman timeline video. One, or actually two, of the people that tried to stop him from killing people in Gotham and Bloodhaven were Batman and Nightwing, respectively, because of the fact that Deathstroke, while he is mainly a Teen Titans villain, he is also a Batman and Nightwing villain, so I wanted to make it so that Deathstroke, while he was Deathstroke, affected by the Mirakuru, had a run-in with both of those heroes, so this is all in the year 2012. So then we get to Arrow Season 2, which begins in 2013, or actually October 2013. Slade sets out to create an army of Mirakuru soldiers, which would force Amanda Waller to destroy Starling City so she can kill all of those soldiers so they don't spread to the rest of the country. He plants Isabel Rochev in Queen Consolidated and makes it so that she takes over, and he also funds Sebastian Blood's mayoral campaign. Blood uses Slade's blood to recreate the Mirakuru, which works on Cyrus Gold specifically. After Oliver kills Cyrus, Slade does end up continuing to use his blood to mass produce the Mirakuru. Roy Harper during this exact time is also infected by the Mirakuru, which actually falls into Slade's plan a little bit later. So then we get to the year 2014, in which Moira Queen runs for mayor, which is exactly opposed to Slade Wilson's, or a part of Slade Wilson's plan of Sebastian Blood becoming mayor. Slade goes to Queen Consolidated to plant cameras and also to reveal to Oliver that he is still alive. Slade tells Oliver that he will fulfill the promise he made back in 2009 to make him suffer. Slade kidnaps the Queen in order to distract the city while he frees prisoners from a prison transfer. Also, so that Oliver would be desperate enough to sign over the company to Isabel Rochev, even if it was temporarily. And also, he tells Thea that Malcolm Merlyn is her father, which strained the relationship between Thea and Oliver so they wouldn't be able to get their money or their company back. So his kidnap of Thea accomplished 3 different things. Slade also reveals to Laurel that Oliver is the Arrow for no other reason other than to mess with them, or maybe trying to strain the relationship between them, which did not end up working. Anyway, Slade also steals a device from Star Labs that would help him reproduce the Mirakuru, and using this device, he uses Roy's blood to mass produce the Mirakuru, and infect or inject all of his prisoners, the prisoners that he freed, making a Mirakuru army. Slade also kills Moira Queen, giving Oliver a choice between Moira and Thea. Moira then kind of sacrifices herself, and Moira dies, ensuring Sebastian Blood's mayoral victory. Slade then unleashes his Mirakuru army on Starling, and just as he expected, Amanda Waller decides to destroy Starling to kill the army. But this is when Slade's plan falls apart, as he does not end up succeeding to destroy Starling City, even though he does definitely kill a lot of people. One of the people is actually the fiance of Ray Palmer, as one of the Mirakuru soldiers killed her, which ends up fueling Ray Palmer's motivation of becoming the Atom. Anyway, with the help of Star Labs developing, or at least synthesizing, the cure that Anthony Ivo created, Team Arrow, with the help of Nis Al Ghul and the League of Assassins, cure murder all of the Mirakuru soldiers. Nissa also kills Isabel, and Oliver uses Felicity to trick Slade, and Felicity ends up curing Slade, which you might have noticed I didn't mention Felicity at all yet in this video, which is why I think personally it's a little unusual for her to be the one that cures Slade. It would have been way better if it was actually Oliver. Anyway, after this, Oliver and Slade get into a fight, and now, without the help of the Mirakuru, Slade Wilson is defeated by Oliver Queen. Amanda Waller calls off the airstrike, and Oliver locks Slade up in a prison on Lian Yu, seemingly for the rest of his life, but he does return a lot, and he doesn't spend a lot of his life in that prison. So in the year 2015, Slade Wilson has a return, hence the title of the episode, The Return, as Thea and Oliver go to Lian Yu for some sort of weird training to fight the League of Assassins, anyway, during which Merlin releases Slade from prison to fight and help, I guess, Oliver and Thea be ready, but they do end up defeating Slade and locking him back up. If this sounds a little bit anticlimactic or underwhelming for his big return, that's because it is, but between this, where he still seems very affected by the Mirakuru, and when he returns in the year 2017, between 2015 and 2017, the Mirakuru starts to slowly fade away. While the physical effects of the Mirakuru went away really quickly, like automatically, the mental effects didn't go away until around somewhere between 2015 and 2017, which is probably 2016. So in the year 2017, Oliver tries to get Slade's help in his fight against Prometheus. By this point, the Mirakuru has completely disappeared from his mind, and he regrets everything he's done because before the Mirakuru, he saw Oliver as a friend and practically a brother, so now he's kind of back to that mindset, even though he did kill Oliver's mother under the influence of Mirakuru. Anyway, he helps Oliver fight Team Prometheus, and he's pretty badass in this episode, but after the Lian Yu explosion, which Slade and basically almost everybody else survives, Slade sets out to look for his son. Slade and Oliver go on a mission to find Joe. Slade learns that Joe is a criminal and the head of the Jackals, and he also learns that he has another son named Grant. Slade sets out to find his children and be a better father, which is when Slade and Oliver go their separate ways and they say goodbye. So I would say that this is the end of his timeline, but we did get the 4th episode of Arrow Season 8, which continued it. In this episode, Grant Wilson returns and tries to follow in his father's footsteps as Deathstroke. This means that Slade found his son sometime before November 2019, so let's say early 2019 he found Grant. Grant then learned that his father is Deathstroke and wanted to follow in his footsteps, and now inspired by his father, Grant Wilson sets out to kill wealthy people in Star City. But he ends up being defeated by Team Arrow, who had the help of future Team Arrow. There are also 2 erased timelines where Deathstroke's legacy through Grant Wilson ended up terrorizing or even taking over Star City. One time in Legends of Tomorrow, where we saw Grant Wilson, he took over Star City and with his group of Deathstrokes, while in the flash forwards of Season 7, JJ succeeded Grant Wilson and he, along with the Deathstroke gang, terrorizes Star City. Neither of these futures are a part of the continuity anymore, they're both erased, but it's crazy how in 2 different possible futures, Deathstroke's legacy was the ruin and destruction of Star City, not Slade Wilson himself. So anyway, that is Deathstroke's Arrowverse timeline. It is definitely very extensive. So anyway, that is Deathstroke's Arrowverse timeline. It is definitely a very extensive timeline, hence this video being fairly long. However, after the year 2017, it kind of falls apart, and we really don't know much or anything at all about what happens to Slade, and I'm hoping in some sort of episode of either this season of Arrow, or a tie-in comic, or maybe even in a spin-off show with Deathstroke, some sort of way he's mentioned or appears, and we learn what happened to him and everything that happened during his timeline between the years 2017 and 2019. And even after that. But anyway, let me know in the comments down below which character you think I should do next, either a character from the comics or a prominent character in the Arrowverse. Let me know your thoughts, and if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.